If there's one thing that a lot of fans have to be excited about, it has a lot to do with George Lucas's involvement with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on the future slate of Star Wars TV shows and movies that's really going to propel things in a better path, given that now Disney is in full damage control mode and in a phase of desperation to really turn things around for the franchise. We know that it really all begins with the Ahsoka Tano series, which, by the way, had zero Kathleen Kennedy input, as opposed to The Mandalorian Season 3. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, there's a lot of things going on when it comes to this slate of Star Wars movies. We know that Disney has a full-fledged plan right now to put out one new Star Wars movie a year, starting in 2025 with the race-centered film first, followed by the Dave Filoni movie, then Dawn of the Jedi, and then a lot more other films in between. That's really going to give us a lot of things to look forward to. Basically, Disney CEO Bob Iger wants to make sure that movies are going to be the focus again, instead of strictly just Star Wars shows. But that brings us to what George Lucas recently did that I personally think is pure genius. It really raises the bar, and I think it's going to bring fans back to the theaters if this is going to be executed perfectly and almost flawlessly. Now, we know that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are working on a Star Wars movie that, by the way, is going to open a gateway to becoming a trilogy. We've talked about this before in the past, that everything related to the overall structure of Star Wars is going to be an evolutionary process. So, with that being put out there and said, one thing is that right now George Lucas is working hand in hand with Jon and Dave on the future of Star Wars, and especially with the upcoming movies. One major thing that Lucas convinced Disney to do with the upcoming Dave Filoni-centered film that takes place in the Mandoverse era is that Lucas is the one who pitched and convinced Bob Iger and many other executives at Disney to use this as a chance to focus on Luke Skywalker again on the big screen, except during his prime at the peak of his power. Now, though the Dave Filoni film is said to be the gateway to becoming a trilogy and to be considered a new sequel trilogy in a sense, continuing the Skywalker saga in many ways, it was Lucas who got Disney to agree to bring back Luke to the big screen, much like how fans saw him in Book of Boba Fett. Further, Lucas also got Disney to agree to bring back Han and Leia into Dave Filoni's movie in ways that fans would never even imagine, through ILM's new technology. Now, though they are still trying to get Harrison Ford to sign on for Filoni's movie to have Han Solo return to have a face-off against Boba Fett on the big screen, Harrison so far wants nothing to do with Star Wars or Indiana Jones anymore after Episode 9 and the Dial of Destiny. So let me just pause here quickly for one moment, is that it was all George who convinced Filoni, who convinced the Disney executives to bring Luke back to the theaters on the big screen for the Dave Filoni-centered Star Wars film that's going to eventually become a trilogy. We've talked about this before, that basically this Age of the New Republic, this Mandoverse movie, whatever you want to call it, Disney's overall marketing approach is to make this into a new sequel trilogy, basically. Not necessarily calling it 7, 8, and 9, but considering it a new sequel trilogy that's going to borrow a lot of aspects from Star Wars Legends and the fan favorite elements of the books and the comics back in the 90s. So there's a lot of great things coming out of this, given that we have Jon Favreau also helping out with Dave Filoni on this new Star Wars film, but not entirely. This is mainly a Dave Filoni project, and they're going to have multiple writers involved. In fact, they're looking for additional writers to become a part of this new Star Wars movie that's going to focus on Luke, Ahsoka, Thrawn, Sabine Wren, Ezra Bridger, all the like. He even convinced us that this is going to be a top-tier movie, a very big-budget film. Just yesterday, Filoni told us through EW that basically this movie is going to be a mashup of everything that you have seen so far and will see in the Mandoverse era, so to speak. This Mandalorian universe, whatever you want to call it, right? So that's more than enough to be excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very passionate about Dave Filoni's work when it comes to what he has done with Ahsoka in Mando Season 2, what he has done with Luke in Book of Boba, And that's enough to convince me that the Ahsoka series is going to perform well, and that this Dave Filoni-centered film is going to perform just as well. It's all about execution and creativity and character development that really all matters. On to the next thing, alright? So this is where things begin to pick up a bit, but they are still trying, of course, to get Harrison on board. Mark Hamill is set to join the Filoni movie that will take place years after Mando Season 3, and that Lucas and Filoni agreed to change Luke's appearance and his design, to make him somewhat more mature at this stage in his life. This is reported to involve a new hairstyle and new attire to cherry-pick from his different designs from Star Wars Legends. It's still unclear how many years the film will take place after Mando Season 3 and Ahsoka, but it is said to be multiple years at this stage. Lucas is going to be using some of his original ideas of Luke's design, also from the original scripts of Return of the Jedi, that got scrapped for the Filoni film as well, that will be inserted into that. They are aiming to get this movie out by 2026, and that Disney wants one movie a year again. So they want one whole movie a year to basically be their new marketing move, just like they did with Episode 7, and leading up to Episode 9, and how we had Rogue One and Solo in between in the 2016 and 2018 years. So what's really great about this, I think, is the fact that Filoni is looking at this as an opportunity to take the Mandoverse, right? We're talking about Mando, Book of Boba, Ahsoka, and many other upcoming shows that have yet to be unveiled, and how that's going to be all mashed up into a big Star Wars movie that's going to eventually blossom into a new trilogy, so to speak, becoming a new sequel trilogy. Now again, that's Disney's approach. They want to make this into a new take on what the sequel trilogy should have been right from the get-go. And I think at the end of the day, it's a great move. It's a great marketing move to bring Luke back to the big screen at the peak of his power, at a younger age, like in his late 20s, early 30s max. And that's really something that I think a lot of fans are going to cherish if done correctly. We know that ILM and their new technology to really kind of create characters at a younger age is becoming more and more flawless. And over the years, over the next couple of years, by the way, it's only going to get better and better. So by the 2026 year, I'm sure that ILM's new tech is going to be near flawless, or maybe even flawless, where you can't really tell, who's real and who's not. That's going to really change the game for the film industry. So anyways, there's a lot of things going into this, obviously. I'm really thankful that George is the one that convinced Filoni to move ahead with this plan, to bring Luke back and use that as an opportunity, because this is going to be a Mandoverse movie. And yeah, I mean, think about it. It's like a no-brainer, right? If you have a Mandoverse movie, why not bring back Luke? George is in the right here. He knew exactly what to do, and he took action. And I think that's the plus as to how we have George working hand in hand with John and Dave. He kind of reminds them, you should do this or that, and this might work and this might not work. So overall, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.